SEGA have released an all-new and official Sonic the Hedgehog Timeline on their Sonic Channel website called Sonic World Story. The Sonic Timeline is a winding path, and certain things aren't quite in the order that you'd expect. Let's talk surprises after. I used Google Translate on these and just cleaned up the translations a bit, but remaining as close as possible to the original text. Starting off with prehistory. Destruction and rebirth by Dark Gaia and Light Gaia. History repeats itself with Dark Gaia and Light Gaia both destroying the Earth and rebuilding it over the course of millions of years. Ancients and Chaos Emeralds. The Ancients take refuge on Earth with the Chaos Emeralds. A small number of descendants who fled to a place called Mystic Ruin build the Temple of the Master Emerald. As hundreds of thousands of years passed, the Ancients eventually became Chao. Tens of thousands of years ago, Dark Gaia's destruction of Earth, the oldest record. This is the oldest recorded destruction of the Earth by Dark Gaia, a super-energetic lifeform that originated in the core of the Earth. This event was later recorded in the Gaia manuscripts. The ancestors of the Babylonian bandits drift to Earth. A spaceship from deep space is out of control, and a race that is the ancestor of the Babylonian bandits crash lands to Earth. The engine units of the detached ships were scattered around the world and later became known as the Ark of the Cosmos. The exact timing is unknown. Thousands of years ago, the Wrath of Chaos destroys the Echidna tribe. Patrickamax's Echidna tribe raised the Temple of the Master Emerald in an attempt to steal it. In doing so, Chaos's companion Chao is sacrificed, enraging him, and he proceeds to destroy the Echidna tribe. 2,000 years ago, Black Arms preparing for Earth invasion, the Black Arms sent the Flying Temple to Earth. Birth of Emerl. In an ancient civilization, the combat robot race of Gizoids are created. One of them would come to be known as Emerl. 50 years ago, Black Doom and the Covenant of Darkness. Black Doom contacts Professor Gerald Robotnik. In exchange for a guide to the invasion of Earth in 50 years, Black Doom provided his DNA, giving Gerald the basis of which to create Shadow the Hedgehog. The Great Destruction of the Ark. In the Ark, the ancient combat robot Gizoid that is being researched goes out of control. Extensive damage was caused to the space colony Ark, and it became one of the reasons for Gun's eventual intervention. Gun's raid on the Ark. Caught up in a sudden attack by Gun, Maria Robotnik loses her life. Distraught by the loss of his granddaughter, Gerald prepares to take revenge through using the Eclipse Cannon and Shadow before he is imprisoned and executed. Changing History by Sonic and Elise. Sonic and Elise travel back in time and blow out the flames of Solaris. As a result, the Solaris project was undone, the world was saved from crisis, and the devastated future became a peaceful world. However, as a consequence, the events of Sonic 06 never happened. 10 years ago, Solaris project failed, sealing of Iblis. The Duke of Soliana fails in his project with Solaris. In order to prevent the flames of disaster from being conjured up and destroying the world, he sacrifices his own life and seals Iblis within his own daughter, Elise. Classic Sonic era. Dr. Eggman raids the South Island. Sonic fights off Dr. Eggman, who attacked the South Island in order to steal the Chaos Emeralds and achieve world domination. Sonic saves Amy from Metal Sonic. After a fateful encounter with Sonic on Little Planet, Amy gets involved in Dr. Eggman's evil deeds and is kidnapped by Metal Sonic. Sonic defeats Metal Sonic to rescue Amy and destroy Eggman's ambitions. Death Egg crashes into Angel Island. Sonic meets Tails and they work together to repel Eggman as he attacks West Side Island, leading to a battle on his giant space fortress, the Death Egg. It eventually crashes into Angel Island, preventing the capture of the Master Emerald and the resurrection of the Death Egg. Dr. Eggman tricks Knuckles and steals the Master Emerald while repairing the Death Egg. However, Sonic, Tails and Knuckles work together to destroy the Death Egg and defeat Eggman's ambitions to conquer the world. The Master Emerald was restored and Angel Island once again rose to the sky. Mysterious Secret Stone and the Phantom Ruby. Dr. Eggman unearths a gem with mysterious powers called the Phantom Ruby, and the power sends Sonic, Tails and Knuckles to various worlds. After Eggman is defeated by Sonic and the others, Sonic disappears across time and space to the world of modern Sonic in Sonic Forces. After saving the world of modern Sonic in Sonic Forces, classic Sonic returned to his original time. As he chases the Phantom Ruby, he encounters Mighty and Ray, whom have been captured. Sonic rescues them, but one of them turns out to be the Heavy Magician. But once again, Sonic rescues his friends and defeats Eggman, and the world sees peace once again. Dr. Eggman invades the North Star Islands. Dr. Eggman and the bounty hunter Fang invade the North Star Islands. He takes advantage of Trip, who lives in the area, and enlists her to guide and protect them. Sonic and his friends use the powers of the Chaos Emeralds to put an end to Eggman's evil plans. The Age of Modern Sonic. Fierce battle with the resurrected Metal Sonic. Dr. Eggman gives Metal Sonic a chance to make a full comeback. The Death Egg Mark II rises into the sky above Little Planet as the two of them set out for world domination. However, Sonic once again wins a fierce battle with Metal Sonic and Eggman at the Death Egg Mark II, destroying it and once again ending Eggman's ambitions. Sonic and his friends save the world from perfect chaos. Dr. Eggman wants to free Chaos, who was sealed in the Master Emerald, and use him for world domination and Robotnik Land. However, he goes out of control and evolves into perfect chaos, putting the world on the verge of great destruction. However, due to the thoughts of Sonic, the Chaos Emeralds which had lost their power were revived and Sonic became Super Sonic, stopping Perfect Chaos and Eggman's plan. An alternate universe of light and dreams, the crisis of Imaginary World. Lumina, the guardian spirit of Imaginary World, summons Sonic and the others to stop Void from conquering it. Sonic and his friends, along with Lumina, use magic cards and force jewels to save Imaginary World from collapsing. Awakening of Shadow. Dr. Eggman awakens Shadow the Hedgehog and tries to use him to conquer the world, but is betrayed by Shadow as he tries to carry out his revenge plan left by Gerald Robotnik. In the final stage of his revenge, Shadow regains his true memories with the help of Amy. He teamed up with Sonic and risked his life to save the world. The first adventure of Cream and Cheese, Sonic Advance 2. Sonic meets Cream and helps her along with his friends. They rescue the kidnapped Vanilla and defeat Dr. Eggman, who is plotting to build Eggman Land again. Metal Sonic, who has an ego, rebels and imprisons Dr. Eggman and sends a challenge letter to Team Sonic stating he's going to conquer the world, all while under Eggman's name. Over the course of the battle, Metal Sonic collected Sonic and the rest of the characters' biodata and powered himself up, but he was eventually defeated by Sonic and the others. Shadow repels Black Doom's invasion of Earth. Black Doom, an invader from outer space, invades Earth. After being provoked by Black Doom to learn about his past, Shadow travels the world in search of the Chaos Emeralds, sometimes antagonizing Sonic and the others. After various conflicts, Shadow defeated Black Doom and fulfilled the wishes entrusted to him by Maria, and decides to overcome the past and move forward. Emerald's rise and fall. Dr. Eggman tries to reboot one of the ancient weapons, a Gizoid, and use it for world domination, but it doesn't work and he abandons it. Sonic picks it up and names him Emerl and trains him. Eggman tries to use Emerl, who had gained power as a combat weapon, but ends up letting him go out of control. There's no way to stop Emerl safely, thus Sonic defeats him. Birth of Gemerl. Dr. Eggman uses the power of the Chaos Emeralds to divide the world into 7 parts. He tried to defeat Sonic and his friends many times with Gemerl, his new combat robot based on Emerl, but he couldn't win. Gemerl went, you guessed it, out of control, and Sonic and Eggman defeat him. Later, Gemerl was recovered, repaired, and reprogrammed by Tails, and he was left to live as part of Cream's family. Blaze, the princess of another world, comes to Sonic's world. Following the stolen Soul Emerald, Blaze comes through to Sonic's world from her own. Through her interactions with Amy and Cream, as well as her struggles with Sonic, Blaze comes to trust them all. Sonic and Blaze work together to defeat Dr. Eggman and Eggman Nega, and Blaze reclaimed the Soul Emeralds and returned to her own world. A major incident surrounding the Flames of Disaster! Dr. Eggman kidnaps Princess Elise in order to obtain the the Flames of Disaster. Sonic runs to help her, and we meet Silver, who has travelled back in time to kill Sonic in order to save the future. Shadow visits Dr. Eggman's base on a mission, encountering the mysterious being Mephiles. They all become entangled in their own agendas and fates, and become involved in a major incident. The world's fastest battle with the Babylon Thieves. Dr. Eggman hosted the Extreme Gear World Grand Prix, with the prize being the 7 Chaos Emeralds. Team Sonic and the Babylon Thieves compete in a heated race, but the race was a trap for Eggman to steal the treasures of Babylon Garden. Sonic and Tails get lost in the world of Blaze. Sonic and Tails are caught in a storm and drift into the Soul Dimension. They are rescued by Marine, a self-proclaimed adventurer, and while investigating the islands they reunite with Blaze. However, before Sonic could celebrate their reunion, he decided to chase the pirates with Blaze in pursuit of the national treasure, the Jewel Scepter, that was stolen in front of them. Sonic and Blaze defeat Eggman and Eggman Nega, who were controlling the pirates, and recovered the Jeweled Scepter. One-Ray Ariel ruins Babylon Garden. The history of Babylon Garden is unearthed. Its true form is a spaceship with the Arcs of the Cosmos as its power source. When all 5 Arcs are gathered, the ship goes out of control and nearly becomes a black hole, but thanks to the efforts of Sonic and Jet, the crisis was averted. Dr. Eggman forces Dark Gaia to awaken. In order to create Eggman Land once again, Dr. Eggman uses Super Sonic and the Chaos Emeralds to split the Earth into 7 pieces and forcibly awaken Dark Gaia, mutating Sonic into a werehog at the same time. Sonic, along with his new amnesiac friend Chip, travel to various Gaia temples across the world to restore the Chaos Emeralds and fix the planet. Eventually, Chip regains his memories as Light Gaia and ultimately defeats Dark Gaia. Friendship with alien Wisps. Dr. Eggman takes over the planet where the Wisps live and builds Egg Planet Park, aka Eggman's incredible interstellar amusement park. He plans to steal the energy of the Wisps and activate a terrifying weapon. Sonic and Tails work together with the Wisps to put an end to Eggman's plans. Past and future, 2 Sonics. After his defeat at Egg Planet Park, Dr. Eggman finds the Time Eater, who can manipulate time and space. Using that power, he summons his past self and begins a plan to rewrite the timeline. Sonic's friends were captured by the Time Eater and Sonic was knocked out, and when he woke up, he found himself in a pure white world. There, he teamed up with his younger self to restore the world and his friends that had been drained of life and colour, and defeated the 2 Eggmen and the Time Eater. resurrected yet fleeting darkness and light. Taking advantage of the space-time anomaly caused by the Time Eater, Black Doom resurrects himself. When he meets Shadow once again in white space, he provokes Shadow and encourages him to awaken his powers. Maria and Gerald Robotnik, who lost their lives long ago, are taken from their place in time to white space and spend a fleeting, precious time with Shadow. Eventually, Black Doom tries to absorb Shadow, who has fulfilled his potential as the strongest Black Arms warrior. But Shadow's heart is not swallowed by darkness and he refuses. With Maria's wish in mind, he defeats Black Doom. The second World Grand Prix. Dr. Eggman disguises himself as King Doc of Toreg Mania in order to incorporate the biodata of Sonic and the other races into Metal Sonic in an all-new second World Grand Prix. Dom's note, technically it was for his own board and Metal Sonic just happened to steal the data instead, but back to the translation. The winner will be given a disgustingly large cash prize and a mountain of treasure. The race began with the thoughts of all the participating teams. The Deadly Six betray Eggman. Dr. Eggman finds the Lost Hex, a phantom land inhabited by the Zeti, and uses their weak point, the cacophonic conch shell, to use the Deadly Six to assist him in absorbing life energy from Earth. However, with the loss of the conch shell thanks to Sonic, the Deadly Six betray Dr. Eggman and banish him, and begin extracting the life energy to their own ends. Sonic, Tails and Eggman reluctantly team up to defeat the Deadly Six. Eggman plans to steal the ultimate energy machine developed by the Dompa of the Dompa Kingdom and abuse it. However, when he misuses the engine, he is defeated by Sonic and his friends, and his ambitions are shattered. The world is taken over by Eggman, but liberated by Sonic and the Rookie. Dr. Eggman uses his newfound Phantom Ruby to create an infinite army and conquer 99% of the world with Infinite. However, Dr. Eggman and his friends were defeated by the resistance formed by Sonic's friends. Through the efforts of modern and classic Sonic along with the Rookie, peace was restored to the world. A mysterious girl detains Knuckles in cyberspace. Knuckles is flown to Ares Island while investigating an old ruin he found on Angel Island. In front of Knuckles, who thinks that it is the work of Eggman, a mysterious girl appears and traps him in cyberspace. Sonic and Sage protect the world from the end. Dr. Eggman tries to harness the technology of the Ancients of the Starfall Islands and connects to the network, causing a series of incidents. Sage, who evolved through access to the technology of the Ancients, begins to interfere with Sonic in order to protect Dr. Eggman, who is trapped in cyberspace. In the process, Sage focuses on the unknown behaviors and possibilities of Sonic, which cannot be answered by simple calculation, and proposes to Eggman that they fight the true enemy. Together, they defeated the End and saved the world. 200 years later, the future world before the alteration. A world devastated by Iblis. Silver and Blaze continue their never-ending battle against the infinitely resurrected Iblis. With the help of the mysterious Mephiles, the two travel to the time period inhabited by Sonic and his friends to kill the person who is said to be the cause of this devastated world, the Iblis Trigger. A future world where the flames of disaster have disappeared due to the alteration of history by Sonic and Elise, and the disaster itself had not occurred, and peace continues. Well, that's the timeline. I think it's a very interesting way of structuring the Sonic universe's incidents, which somehow manages to be both a safe recounting and also fairly unhinged at the same time. I mean, I don't know why Sonic Shuffle has been resurrected after all this time, but if expanding the lore is what they're going for here, then I can understand it. Though I can also think of some other things that probably should have been included, but it's a good basis. I will say that there's an awful lot of games that have been left entirely off this list. The Storybook games, the Rivals games, Advance 1, Chaotix, Fighters, but I don't for a second think this means that some of those games have just been stricken from the canon without further notice. This is obviously just a streamlined chronicle of events that have happened in Sonic's world, and likely the ones that we should be keeping in mind when it comes to where the series will be going in the future. This whole list is them saying, look here, this is what's important. And I guess in their eyes, the games that I mentioned earlier probably just don't have enough impact on the wider narrative. I mean, you could probably make a case for why Sonic Rivals should be included, because that effectively gave Silver his second introduction in the series, you know, the one that everybody remembered. Speaking of Silver, Sonic 06 is really all over this timeline, isn't it? It's at the beginning, during, and the end. Somehow, that particular game has become all-encompassing, and it was such a gradual creep-up over the years that we never really noticed. However, I am quite glad that SEGA have come to terms with 06 and its place in the overall storyline of Sonic. Sure, the events didn't come to pass in the timeline, but they did still happen and they do have impact. And they're owning it. Can't say more than that. I'm genuinely glad to see Sonic 06's story get recognised. It was an incredibly ambitious one that unfortunately fell awfully short, but I've always admired the direction they tried to take the series in, and to this day, if they had managed to finish the game, I do wonder where the franchise would be. It would no doubt be very, very different, for better or for worse in some eyes. I guess we'll never know, and sometimes we're probably best off not knowing. I also find it interesting that there is seemingly the retcon on classic Sonic's involvement in Sonic Forces, that he is definitely the younger self here in a cohesive story. And if this is all one story, then it's clear that they're leaning towards time travel rather than another dimension as stated in Forces itself, which is probably for the best. I always think it's better if it's a cohesive narrative rather than splitting classic and modern into separate areas or dimensions or stuff like that, but it does make the next point a bit interesting to think about. Sonic 4 is now confirmed to be the beginning of the modern Sonic era, with Mania, Generations and Forces all taking place before it for classic Sonic, which, I mean, it kind of complicates things with Metal Sonic, as he had various appearances which are set after Sonic 3 and Knuckles, but before the Adventure era, such as Triple Trouble and Chaotix. However, you can kind of clear it up in your head if you think that Sonic 4's beginning now carries on from Metal's second defeat at Stardust Speedway, which took place in Sonic Mania. I mean, there's probably a hole in that logic somewhere, but I just want to stop my boy taking L's. Sonic Shuffle now randomly being noticed all these years was also a surprise. It's fun to see the once forgotten lore of Imaginary World getting its flowers, I have to admit. I mean, I do find the vibes of Sonic Shuffle very pleasant. I've never played it, but I kind of want to. It's a lovely aesthetic, and I do love the cell shading. I actually did buy a Dreamcast not too long ago, so I fully intend to buy Sonic Shuffle, despite his reputation. It will be fascinating, methinks. A great change to see officially recognised is Sonic Battle and Sonic Advance 3 being after Shadow the Hedgehog. It's the best way the story makes sense, there's no other way to really put them. Shadow would be too amnesiac in Heroes and Shadow 5 to have such an active, knowledgeable part of the plot as he does here. This Shadow is fully put together, and it makes sense that the whole ML and GemL debacle takes place in that grey area between Shadow 5 and 06. It really feels like everything from Adventure 2 to Sonic Battle take place reasonably close together, since it all follows a cohesive plotline regarding Shadow and the fateful incidents of the Space Colony arc. Sonic Battle to this day is still one of the games that I think is the most underrated of the Sonic franchise. Sure, it may be a bit repetitive with the fighting at times, but I think the story more than makes up for it. I think it's very, very good. There is one point of contention I do have with this timeline, however. We also have confirmation that Sonic Rush takes place before Sonic 06, thus causing a little bit of confusion in regard to Blaze the Cat. I mean, there has always been some confusion regarding this particular point for years, but if Rush takes place before 06, then Sonic would surely have recognised Blaze in 06. I mean, it's completely feasible that Blaze wouldn't have recognised him because this would be a younger Blaze. They'd be meeting out of time, but he clearly doesn't recognise Blaze or acknowledge her as such, so it's confusing to say the least. Even if, say, Blaze was sent to the Soul Dimension at the end of 06, which leads into Rush, there is connecting tissue here, but it's not cohesive and it makes very little sense. Can anyone make sense of this? I mean, am I just dumb? It's just not making sense in my brain, and there may be a simple explanation for it that I'm completely missing.
There's a simple explanation for that.
Free Riders taking place after Colors and Generations, despite it being released first, is interesting. The out of ordering is certainly not an issue. It kind of works. Colors and Generations take place one after the other for Eggman, so it would never be between the two. It would have to be before or after. And let's be honest, nothing really contradicts its placement because the continuity of the meta era was so lore-light anyway, it never really mattered. Having it after, in fact, builds on the lives of the expanded cast in a post-Generations world. It's a fine placement. Team Sonic racing before Forces is another change that I really like actually, because realistically, there isn't much of a place that you can fit Team Sonic racing in continuity-wise without it becoming completely ill-fitting to the IDW comics if it was post-Forces. Everything looks too clean, everyone is too happy. Zavok continues to exist, and plus there is a lot of post-war rebuilding going on at that point of the comics, followed by the whole metal virus thing. Plus, I saw someone post on Twitter that it's incredibly funny that after losing a race, Eggman became a straight-up war criminal, and that's too funny to ignore and not put into canon. There are some aspects about this timeline that are great, a few which raise a few questions in my head, but at this point with Sonic having such a long-running continuity, some holes are more than likely going to occur, which is indeed deeply frustrating but not uncommon. I mean, I'm a Doctor Who fan and a Star Trek fan, I'm used to these long-running constant revisions, but I appreciate that we have some official word on it. Again, not all the games are listed, many of them haven't been, but that doesn't remove them. They're there until proven not, like Sonic Chronicles The Dark Brotherhood, RIP. So what do you think of this timeline? Do you have any questions, queries or complaints about it? Direct them to someone who can do something about it, but also feel free to comment them in the comment section below. Until next time, See ya!